Hi guys, my name is Kateryna.
And my name is Daria. Today our guest is Ola. She's an evidence-based personal trainer based in Toronto. Welcome, Ola.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hi Ola, we have some questions to discuss today with you.
Okay.
So we will start with talking about myths that are always going around, working out, a gym, and like everything in between. So the first one is, I think it's one of the most popular, that if you go to the gym and if you do like a strength training or if you do like weights and whatever you touch, you're gonna get bulky. Even like for women, especially for women. So that's why most of us, when we start training, I think we're like, trying to stay away from weight section and we just do cardio or something. Right now, I know it's not true. That's why we call it a myth. But can you please expand on this topic and tell us more and like why this is happening, why we believe in this, and like what's actually true?
This myth, thankfully, it starts going away. As you said, like if you change your mind about this, probably by practicing strength training, probably by lifting weights and realizing that it's not how it works. But this is one myth that, again, starts slowly leaving planet Earth, which I'm very thankful for. But I do keep hearing it now and again. So let's break it down. When we say bulky, first of all, the whole term is slightly pejorative. Like, you don't tell someone that, oh, you're getting bulky. Like, it's insulting, right? So to start with, I don't like this term in general, so I'm thankful that it's going away. But so what is bulky, first of all? When women tell me that, oh, I don't want to get bulky, what they typically mean is that they don't want to have too much muscle mass. Is that correct? Does that sound like true?
Yeah.
Awesome. So for the sake of this discussion, we will think of bulky or bulkiness as having too much muscle mass. Now, what is bulky, what is not? As I said, it's not the term that I like. I think it's, slightly insulting. That's why different people are going to see one person and say, okay, this is bulky and this is not bulky. So what is bulky? It's different to different extent, right? So setting that aside, how much muscle mass can someone new to fitness gain? Realistically, again, based on the science we have so far and practice as well. The reality is not a ton, at least not so much to, cause that bulky look. We also tend to think of bodybuilders, right? When they think bulky.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking 1% of your current body weight per month for beginner lifters. So let's say if someone is 150 pounds, it's 1.5 pounds per month. And that's considering you're training hard, you're training consistently, you're training 3-4 times a week, you're lifting weights, you're recovering well, you're eating your protein, all of that. So good circumstances for gaining this much muscle. And it's still not like a ton, right? Like 1.5 pounds. Like what is it in a year? Like 10, no, my math is really off. Like 15 pounds? I would say 15 pounds. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's not a bodybuilder amount of muscle mass, right? And you look at bodybuilders, those people, I've seen those people. I train with those people. They're insane. They train for decades. They use steroids, right? Which is a very dominant part of that world. That's why they gain so much muscle mass. It's impossible to gain so much muscle mass that it will cause that bodybuilder look for a woman who is not using any sort of steroids. Please don't. Under normal circumstances. So is it a myth? Yes, but someone might see slightly muscular woman like me and might say that I'm bulky. And well, I don't give a F. So that's my answer for the bulkiness.
I know this is a myth, but what I still have inside my head, it's especially like my problem areas. So my whole life I was on the larger side of human bodies, like in compared to any person or a girl my age. So I'm very conscious about my quads, for example. So I am like skipping all isolated exercises that are like based on quads. So for example, I know like I am squatting. I know I'm using my quads there. Like any exercise we do for legs, I know I'm using my quads. But do you think it is okay that you're skipping some exercises? For example, I never do side planks, nothing for my obliques because I want this like thin waist. So but recently what I came to a realization was like, if I'm skipping these muscles, like, am I doing bad to my body?
Are you doing yourself a disservice, you mean?
Yeah. So, or like, because I'm running after this image and I'm like, being self-conscious rather than focusing on like, being healthy and, like moving every part of my muscles. Because I guess also the more muscle mass I have, even though it's just like 1.5 pound, but still it like eats more calories. So it means I'm going to be can eat more candies, I don't know, that's what I'm saying.
I get it. I get it. The quads, for a lot of women, as you said, it's also abs. I've also heard calves, surprisingly so. Like that, calves
Yes,
is
that's me.
huge genetic component to calves. That's a whole different podcast about calves. But if we talk about, is it okay to skip? Yeah, it is okay. Honestly, unless you, let's say, only work glutes for 10 years and absolutely nothing else. We don't have evidence for that. You mentioned that I'm evidence-based personal trainer and strength coach. We don't have evidence for that. Like, is it bad? Is it not? We don't really know. Logically thinking, if you only work one muscle, there might be some sort of imbalance happening, but we don't know for sure. So with that being said, theoretically, what would happen if you don't train your quads? Honestly, nothing. If you don't want to grow your quads, if you don't want to grow, I don't know, your chest, we're okay not training chest that much, right? We're not thinking about imbalances, but we just don't want to grow chest, That's more of a thing that men like to train, and, that's okay. We're not worrying about training that. So should we worry about training quads? Perhaps maintaining strength, making sure you're moving your knees, you're moving your hips. If you're thinking about health and your joint health, you don't necessarily have to train in a way that provides enough of stimulus for them to grow. There's tons of exercises that you can do just for glutes, just for hamstrings, just for your adductors, your inner thigh muscles, without touching the quads much. You can absolutely do that. I personally don't think there's anything inherently bad in that. And unless you go to extremes where you don't, let's say, use your knee joint at all, and then you decide to use it, for some people playing with kids or going ice skating or going skiing or I don't know, going for a jog, and you never loaded your knees because you don't want to train your quads, well, that might be a problem. But in terms of the training for size, no, you don't have to. I don't think you do.
You mentioned it, so I have a question right away. So how do we train our knees? It's like squatting would be one of them, or like lunges, yeah?
Yeah,
Am I
definitely. So your squats, your lunges, even leg extensions, right? Well, pretty much anything that moves the knee. We also, again, conversation for a totally separate podcast, but we very rarely rotate our knee, but it has the ability to rotate. So maybe training that rotational capacity of the knee might not be that bad.
That's something new.
It's
so
something new. It's
interesting.
something new. There's some exercise I use with my clients, especially those who have some knee issues, but they're more unconventional exercises for the knees. So if you're just starting out, doing some squats, doing some lunges, flexing your knee as much as it has capacity for will probably be the biggest bang for your buck.
Speaking about like specific areas, is it possible to actually lose some weight and maybe trim a little bit to just one specific area? I think it was one of the myths that we were still thinking about. So is it actually possible, or it's a myth?
No, good question. We're moving into the new myth, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. So look, as Daria said again in the beginning, I'm a personal trainer, or maybe Daria didn't say. I'm also I identify as the strength coach mostly in my work because I do specialize in strength training. I've seen the transformative power strength training, especially working with women. Now, with that being said, I position myself as someone who helps people get strong, to improve their health markers, to improve their lifestyle, to improve their energy levels. at the same time, a lot of people come to me with the goal of, losing some body fat, and that's okay. That can be more so for aesthetic purposes, but that can also be more for health purposes, right? There are different sides of that equation. Now, when we talk about spot reducing fat, the reason I made this whole story is that I was wondering for a long time, like, why this like little shit matters so much to women. Why? Like such little things. The world is so big, and like this little thing, brings so much distress to women. And then I remembered my own story. And then I'm like, okay, it's just been a while, so I forgot. I forgot how it makes women feel. So I did my research in that because I got asked this question a lot. And up to this day, unfortunately, you know the answer, right? Unfortunately, there is no proven way to spot reduce fat unless we're talking about surgery, right? And again, surgery, like if body used to store body fat in certain areas, it's mostly influenced by genetics. It will want to store fat there eventually anyways. So at this point of time, this point of, development in the world, we don't have any proven way to spot reduce fat. I wish I could say that there was one, but there is just absolutely none. Fat storage across your body is influenced by genetics. I would say 90% is influenced by genetics. Interestingly, it changes when women, specifically, enter menopause, right, or perimenopause. During that time of hormonal fluctuations, all sorts of changes, body almost starts preferring to store more fat in the abdominal section, right? So that's the only change in fat distribution that happens as women age. And again, I'm talking, relatively healthy women, not talking about, women who, let's say, struggle with some metabolic syndromes, diabetes. Yeah, like that abdominal storage of fat might be more prevalent. But for most of us, women, healthy women, as we enter perimenopause or menopause, we tend to store more fat in the belly area, and that's totally natural, totally normal. We just want to make sure that overall we maintain healthy body fat percentage.
How about the underarms thing? I thought it's menopause as well, no?
Very, very much genetic. Very much genetic. Yes, and like the flappy tricep thing, even muscle flaps. So that's okay. Really,
so we just need to train. So we have stronger muscles here. We can spot reduce fat, but we can spot increase muscle.
That's true. That's true. When I was doing my research on this topic, I noticed there is one research that shows very marginal differences in fat storages near the muscle that was trained. Marginal. Like it almost doesn't matter. It's almost unnoticeable. Okay. So I should have said that in the beginning. Like there is like slight hope in that area, but not really. Like you probably would never ever notice that difference, but at least it's something promising maybe for future research. But look, when we talk about, I don't like my belly, right? For me personally, 10 years ago, it was inner thighs. I hated my inner thighs. And I remember that feeling very clearly now. For some women, it's the tricep. For some women, it's back fat. Now, if you are in fairly healthy, body, like you're not overweight, you're not obese, what will help eventually is building more muscle mass, because your body can get away with lower body fat percentage if you have more muscle mass. This is mostly practice. Like I've seen that in practice. People who have more muscle mass, they can live healthily in slightly lower body fat percentage and just be fine. And when you lower overall body fat percentage, yes, the body will take fat from where it wants to take it, but just spot reducing, unfortunately, not possible. So with that being said, if, maybe not you guys, but if it bothers women who are listening to this podcast so much that, you can't wear your favorite dress, that you feel almost so ashamed of it, yet you are in a fairly healthy body and a healthy body fat percentage, I suggest, potentially working on the body image, right? Like that aspect of psychology, because something that we can't change, especially change fast, we can flip our body composition in, a month or whatever. body image work, body appreciation, understanding why you started hating it in the first place. That can be very helpful.
Yeah, but the body image that, is kind of popular right now is like flat belly. I'm not sure if it's even like possible to achieve that. Like with even like
For some women it is. For other women it might not be.
yeah, it just surprises me. Like you can have like flat belly and then you can have glutes. Like, and I'm like, how like
Genetics.
wow,
It's
really?
it's genetics, or in a lot of cases it's surgery. In a lot of cases just freaking angles. We never know on social media, but people who we see them and that's the way they are.
Yeah, but
it's influenced a lot by genetics. Not entirely. I'm not saying it's entirely only genetics, and you can't do anything about it. But proportions, fat distribution, all of that is largely influenced by that.
Yeah, but psychologically, it's kind of the image that's being, advertised.
Exactly.
Kind of like the normal thing.
Yeah, something to strive for.
Yes,
and
exactly.
So that's
and
why I'm
you're
saying
no, it's not
exactly.
flat.
I'm saying that's why, think about where it stemmed from. Like why did you even start thinking about that? Like what was the first occasion that, you said, okay, like that's not okay. It can be very, very helpful and very enlightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I hate HIIT. That's a statement.
Fair enough, can understand that. Okay. Okay.
The third myth that we wanted to discuss today was like that high intensity training causes your cortisol to spike. So it means it basically, in that case, you're just like gaining fat instead of like, losing fat.
Good question. So
Please tell me it's true because I can't.
So then you don't need to
I
do
don't want to do it.
okay. I heard the myth about cortisol and high intensity interval training as it relates to fat, right? Like gaining body fat. And that usually, they say, whoever preaches that on social media, that it's because your stress is so high, it blocks your fat metabolism, whatever, something along those lines. They also say that that's what makes you have low energy. That's what makes you, disrupts your sleep, disrupts your hormones. That's the one I was looking for. All sorts of things because it spikes cortisol. Okay, so let's remember that. Now, is it true that high intensity interval training or really any high intensity training spikes cortisol? Yeah, that's true. More than, let's say going for a light jog or, going, for a light swim. Just throwing in examples there. Like high intensity training will spike cortisol more.
I just want to, can you define what is high intensity training in this sense?
Yeah. In the way that is usually portrayed on social media, that HIIT that you're talking about, that usually we talk about, working really hard for a certain interval of time. It can depend. Depends which class you go to, depends what kind of workout you do. But let's call it for 20 seconds. You work really, really, really hard. I don't know, you're sprinting really hard. Or you're like just doing... Can I swear?
Yeah.
Please! I can't!
Of course you
I
can.
need to swear. Almost spit it out. Like you're doing a shit ton of jumping jacks. Like work really, really hard, getting your heart rate really, really high. Getting super out of breath. And then you either rest or, switch to lower intensity, like you walk instead of sprinting, and then you repeat that. So that's what usually they call high intensity interval training. And in the essence, like we took, this fitness industry took HIIT training from sports, right? Where the real HIIT is 15 seconds at your maximum effort. Maximum effort. We're talking like sprint. I shouldn't have said sprint before. Like in classes, it's usually, I don't know, like jump squats or whatever. But let's say when we talk about sports, a lot of times it's like 15 seconds of sprint, like maximum 90, 100% effort. And then you slow down for like 3 minutes because you can't recover for 30 seconds after 100% activity. 3 minutes, and then you go again. Okay, and from benefits perspective, it's improving performance, improving your VO2 max, or all sorts of things. So when we talk about HIIT as it relates to fitness industry and social media, we usually talk about, like, I don't know, jump squats for 30 seconds and a 30-second rest, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, it's more intense than yoga. No question about that. Now back to
Cortisol.
back to cortisol. Does it spike the cortisol more? Yes, the more intense the activity is, the more cortisol is spiked. Now, the question is, why? And is it really that bad? Well, the answer is not really. If cortisol didn't spike, quote unquote, you'd probably be dead. You wouldn't be able to do your activity because cortisol helps us mobilize the fuel, helps us mobilize the carbs or carbs in the form of glycogen from your liver, from your muscle tissue, mobilize to knock on the door and say, hey, it's really intense here. We need energy. We need energy, please. So it's like knocking on the door, right? And the body's like, okay, I'm going to release glucose. Okay, here, take it. You need it because you're running from antelope, not antelope, the tiger. Antelope. So the body mobilizes fuel for that high intensity activity. And that's what cortisol does. Cortisol is the one who's knocking on the door. Now, is it bad? Well, clearly it's not. What influencers usually miss is that acute cortisol spikes during exercise are totally normal, totally natural. That's how your body mobilizes fuel. That's okay. What is not okay is being constantly stressed, constantly underslept, having a crappy diet. So your overall recovery status is not so good. That sort of situation where you are chronically stressed, right? Your cortisol is elevated. I'll be honest with you, I don't know about, how when people are in chronic stress, whether the cortisol is elevated, because what I know from my background in exercise science is that when people experience overtraining syndrome, so we talk a lot about athletes, right? For regular people, it's very hard to achieve that overtraining. It requires a lot of training, like a human amount of training. Overtraining syndrome is a real thing. And in that case, the cortisol is actually low. It's actually low because the body doesn't want to mobilize any more fuel. It's trying to send signals and say, hey,
relax.
We need to preserve the energy. Something is wrong. We don't want you to keep doing that. We need you to chill. So I know about overtraining syndrome. When people are chronically stressed, I don't know whether cortisol is more elevated or not. It's irrelevant for this discussion because high-intensity interval training has been shown many times to improve all-cause mortality, to be just great for general health, great for mental health, by the way, as well. A lot of people report that it helps them to, almost release that energy when they exercise more intensely. So many benefits have been shown. Mechanistically, it doesn't make sense that cortisol spikes, those acute spikes, would be detrimental. So in that sense, it's definitely a myth. Now, I do want to point out that if your whole workout routine consists of high-intensity interval training, well, there's something wrong with your workout routine, right? Like, you run into a risk of overtraining, potentially, especially I've seen it with former athletes, and they get into more of a fitness, health side of things. And, they do HIIT like 5-6 times a week, and they really push themselves. That is not good. That is just another extreme, right? But again, acute spikes in cortisol are completely healthy. Please don't be afraid of them. Please don't let this discourage. What drives me crazy, it discourages people from training a lot of times, right? You say, oh, this is scary. This is bad for you, even though it's not. Like, that's my main concern with those myths, is that they can prevent people from engaging in exercise, to train, to, try and better themselves, get into a new routine, because of the fear that is absolutely unwarranted.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The funny thing is, to be honest, I actually thought that exactly what you said, like training actually helps with your mental health. So I thought it actually helps with the cortisol to lower it down, like your
stress level. Yeah, it can, absolutely.
But you release it. What I've heard actually recently that it is being recommended to work out in the morning or to take cold shower in the morning, so you can release the cortisol. So it will spike, but then it's gonna release, and you're gonna be more relaxed kind of during the day. So you will be less stressed kind of thing.
That actually, I don't think that's necessarily a myth. What I do know is that cortisol wakes us up.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like cortisol levels in the morning are high, not because we're stressed. No, because that's
Yes,
the
we
mechanism
are.
to
wake up.
Well, that too. But that's the mechanism the body is using to wake us up, right? People who have low cortisol in the morning actually are having a lot of troubles with energy levels. Like that's not okay. Too little cortisol is not okay. Too much cortisol is not okay. We need a certain level of cortisol, right? So the whole cold shower, cold plunge thing, I'll be honest with you, I'm yet to see evidence pop out on this.
Not yet?
I am. Do we want to quickly talk about cold plunge?
Yes, please.
Very, very, very quickly talk about cold plunge. That's a good one. So I'm not against cold plunge. I'm not. I don't think it's, quote unquote dangerous enough for people not to do this. I want to say one thing though, from evidence perspective, from science perspective. There's been plenty of research on this already, especially on athletes, because they've been doing this for a while. Now, when we look at the evidence, what does it actually help with? Soreness.
That's it?
Soreness.
All of
It
this
does.
like minus
Yeah.
water, just, to make
So
it less
look, I'll
sore.
explain why now. I'll explain why, and I'll also explain why I'm not really against it. Like, I think it's not a bad idea to do it. Wait for it. So even though physiologically it may not be all that useful, you know what it's really useful for? Or to better say, under what circumstance? Placebo. Huge placebo effect. They actually did a study very recently. I think it was college students or like athletes. They put them in two groups. One group, I believe they did sauna or something like that. Something that's not cold plunge. And the other group did cold plunge. I'm pretty sure it was sauna. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was sauna. Now, all the recovery markers that they measured were better physiologically. Sauna group. Now, perceived recovery was like, there was a crazy number. I don't remember the exact number. It was like probably 50% or something more. Perceived recovery from the cold plunge group. So they feel better. Markers have not changed significantly or clinically significantly. So when it comes to placebo, when it comes to it being a social thing, I don't think it's that bad. If placebo works, then go for it. It makes people happy. It makes people like look cool on social media. In that sense, okay, as long as you don't have any heart conditions, like please don't do that. Please don't do that. Make sure you're in good health before you submerge yourself in like ice water. In that sense, I don't think it's bad. I think the placebo effect in conjunction with, again, it being a social thing in a lot of settings, don't see anything wrong with that. Personally, because I know the real science behind it, and I don't have friends who are obsessed about it, like I'm okay not doing it. I'm not okay. Sauna, though, is better for recovery. That has been shown. Sauna is better. Yeah. There you go.
Interesting. I was admiring people who were doing cold plunge.
Another thing, it looks cool, right?
Yeah,
it looks cool.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I thought I was like,
cool.
oh my God, I wish I could do this. Because I thought that these people, they're like extending their life, with the cold plunges. And they're getting younger every plunge at a time. And I'm like, I wish I could do this.
Isn't it liberating? Isn't it liberating that like you don't have to get yourself in a cold ass water?
Yes, I'm very happy
to improve
right
your
now.
recovery. Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
I'm very happy to learn that. One more question that I wanted to ask you about is I'm very influenced by advertisements like on Instagram.
Like the one I posted?
Yes, like the one you posted. I felt a victim, of that. I haven't purchased anything like recently, but I was about to. Like there were some probiotics for women, or there were like something for women, and I was like, well, these people know better, so they specifically created something for women. So probably this should work better. I mean, logically thinking, like now, like probiotics for women sounds a little bit insane. I mean, like they're kind of like cultures, right? So they cannot be specifically for like gender. But again, I feel like this time I logically thought about it after your post, of course. But other times I feel like I'm a victim of those, you know, marketing techniques or kind of thing. So do you think that they have like some some basis for this, or it's actually like just, you know, cute advertising?
I get it because those ads are good. I'll admit the one I posted the one on creatine. There was creatine for women. And I must admit, like, it looks good. It looks good. If I knew nothing about fitness, if I haven't been in this for 10 years,
I think I followed them.
it was what?
After I followed them.
There you go. Because you know what?
Good.
Because it pushes on your pain points. It does, in a way that generic creatine company doesn't. Because you know they push on the price pain point. It's cheaper. It's much cheaper to buy regular creatine than fancy female creatine. Now, back to your question, Kate. In terms of does it have any basis in science or practice? Have you heard of pink tax? I think that's what it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it is.
Pink tax. Products for women being more expensive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you snap for women, or you snap, pink color on something, and it's 20% more expensive. Now, when it comes to, sorry, I sidetracked a little bit. Back to science and whether it has any basis in this, right? 90% no. Honestly, as you said, like, how can probiotic be specifically for women? Like, the only thing that is specific for women is HRT, hormone replacement therapy. It will be different for men. It will be different for women because the concentrations of hormones are different. Other than that, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. Like, for certain people, let's say who are lactose intolerant, like lactose free, something can be beneficial. But specifically for women, if I'm being honest, I keep thinking. Now I keep thinking, I can't think of a single thing. Now, the reason those products are so successful, otherwise they wouldn't have been selling and wouldn't be all over. Really good marketing teams, just phenomenal, and probably bad regulations too, or like shady regulations when it comes to supplements. If I were the president, that would be my first regulation, to fact check everything that those producers claim to do. But in terms of, let's say, creatine, right? You can say the main pain point for women with creatine is that it might make them more bloated or like bulky. There you go, bulky. Because creatine tends to, especially when you start taking it, you store more water in your muscle tissue, which is not a bad thing. Like, your muscle look fuller, your glutes can look fuller. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but somehow it got framed as a bad thing. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe one woman had creatine and had bad reaction to, say, GI reaction, got bloated, and that's where it started. I don't know. It started from somewhere, okay?
Yeah.
Now, that's the pain point that company, for example, is pushing on. That, remove the bloat by, like, we added a ginger root extract. I'm like, what is it going to do to a bloat? Like, literally, right? And $20. $20. And then what was the other pain point? Do you remember from that ad? There was bloating. It was like build lean muscle, like lean muscle thing. Like, muscle is muscle. It's muscle, right? But it's the way they frame it, the way they phrase it, who they show it to, how they advertise it, how they push in those pain points, how they offer you that solution. And you know what? The placebo effect might work as well, in a sense that you might feel better taking that product. The result might be the same, but you might feel better. And for some people, I would say, like, that's maybe not the most terrible thing that can happen, as long as you don't go down that rabbit hole and spend all your money on the products you really don't need. That's the most.
I actually realized I had at home the pre-workout for women, and it was in pink container.
Yeah, the women's caffeine.
But you know what I thought?
It's okay. We've been there for a moment.
Been there. Just order that at Starbucks. But you know what? At that point, I thought that probably it's not that strong.
Not that strong. Maybe it's like accounted for body weight. Like, well, there you go. Like, women tend to be smaller than men in terms of like mass, right? So maybe the scoop has less active ingredients. Like that's the only thing I would think of. Well, then take the half of the scoop of the other pre-workout, right?
Yeah,
But like, again,
well-
not attacking you. Like we've all
Yeah.
been there.
No,
We've all
I mean, it's
been there.
funny. Now that I think about it, it's funny. I bought it like 4 years ago or so. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm easily influenced. Like I'm a victim of Instagram.
No, you're not the only one, and it's okay. You're
We
learning
all
more.
are. I follow them, man.
After the post,
Send
just
me-
buy it.
verify,
'Cause I'm so
verify with
interested
Ola
in-
next time. Verify with Ola. Like you want to buy something, so
Yeah.
I just bullshit or not.
Because I'm so concerned with creatine. I work out a lot now, and I think it's high intensity training, but it's not HIIT. It's just like a strength training, but very intense. And I was thinking about creatine for a long time, and they matched my pinpoints, and they matched. I was just like, oh, finally, the product I was looking for.
Add to cart.
Here it is.
Yep. So yeah, feel free to verify with me. That's okay. I will help you out.
Ola, thank you so much for unraveling all of those myths, with us. Like, it's very important for women to hear all of this.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I like the first one better. I like the bullshit one.
We'll cut the
I
second
swear
one.
it was the first one.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.